3:11 a.m., wide awake, heart racing, mind spinning. This isn't random, and it's not just stress. If you're watching this, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. You didn't click on this video by accident. You clicked because you haven't been able to sleep normally for a long time. And deep down, you know something is wrong. I'm telling you this straight up. Do you have trouble falling asleep, but feel tense when you wake up? Do your thoughts keep you up at night? Does your body feel tired, but your mind just won't shut up? Usually, it's not your bed, it's not your age, it's not your stomach. It's usually a hormone that quietly manages things. This hormone is cortisol. Cortisol is your body's alarm system. It increases in the morning to wake you up and decreases at night so your brain can rest. However, in most adults, especially after the age of 60 or 65, cortisol's program reverses. It remains elevated at night and decreases at times when it shouldn't. When I started looking at actual research instead of sleep hacks or health content on Instagram, something unexpected came to light. Not pills, not heavy supplements, liquids. It was shown that taking certain liquids in very small amounts at night sends calming signals to the brain, balances nighttime blood sugar, and finally balances cortisol safely. I wasn't expecting much. I tried 1 tablespoon every night, that's all. Within a few days, something changed. I stopped waking up at 3 a.m. My sleep became deeper. I felt calmer in the mornings. And the scientific explanation behind it finally made sense. I'm sharing the 5 liquids I tried, ranked from least effective to most potent. Watch until the end, because the second liquid shocked researchers by showing that it could help restore the natural nighttime cortisol drop necessary for true, uninterrupted sleep. Research references are included in the description. Quick question before we start: how old are you? Write it in the comments. We're reading each one because sleep issues are more common than anyone wants to admit. All right, let's start with number 5. Most people completely underestimate this liquid, yet it quietly sends one of the strongest calming signals to your brain before bed. Number 5. Raw honey. The 5th liquid that changed my sleep is raw honey. Before you roll your eyes and think this is just old wives' tales, let me share the science that made me a complete believer. Raw honey works through what scientists call the honey sleep cycle. It operates on 2 completely different pathways at the same time. The first pathway involves your liver. That's the organ keeping your brain fueled all night long. Your brain is incredibly energy hungry. It eats up about 20% of all calories you burn even while you're sleeping. When your liver runs low on glycogen, that's its stored energy form, your brain sends an emergency signal triggering cortisol and adrenaline release to grab energy from other sources. This is exactly why so many people wake between 2 and 4 a.m. with pounding hearts and suddenly wide-awake minds. A study in the Journal of Medicinal Food found that eating a small amount of natural sugars before bed actually stopped this middle-of-the-night cortisol spike by keeping liver glycogen stable. Raw honey works particularly well because it has an ideal fructose-to-glucose ratio, about 1:1, that lets your liver slowly absorb and store energy without spiking blood sugar. The second pathway is even cooler. It involves something called the tryptophan transport mechanism. Raw honey causes a slight insulin rise. This insulin helps clear out competing amino acids from your bloodstream, letting tryptophan cross the blood-brain barrier more efficiently. Once in your brain, tryptophan turns into serotonin, then into melatonin. Your sleep hormone. A tablespoon of raw honey has about 17 grams of natural sugars. Research from the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed this amount is enough to trigger the insulin response needed for optimal tryptophan transport without messing up sleep quality. The key is choosing truly raw, unprocessed honey, not that clear golden syrup in most grocery stores. Real raw honey will be cloudy, might have visible pollen and propolis particles in it, and will often crystallize over time. Take your tablespoon about 30 minutes before bed. You can eat it straight, dissolve it in a little warm water, or mix it into one of the other liquids on this list for even better effects. I noticed that on nights I took raw honey, my sleep tracker showed way fewer nighttime wake-ups, and I felt noticeably less groggy in the morning. But raw honey is just the start. The next liquid works even faster to quiet your overactive stress response. Hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss more videos like this. Number 4. Chamomile tea, concentrate. The fourth liquid is chamomile tea concentrate. Chamomile tea definitely isn't new, but the way most people make it and drink it is completely wrong and stops them from experiencing its true cortisol-lowering power. Chamomile has a compound called apigenin. It's a flavonoid that binds directly to benzodiazepine receptors in your brain. Those are the same receptors targeted by prescription anti-anxiety meds like Valium and Xanax. But apigenin activates them in a much gentler, non-addictive way that helps you relax without dangerous side effects or dependency. A randomized controlled trial in the Journal of Clinical Psychopharmacology found that people taking chamomile extract had big reductions in generalized anxiety symptoms and showed measurably lower cortisol levels compared to the placebo group. Another study in phytomedicine showed that chamomile supplementation improved sleep quality scores by over 30% in people with chronic insomnia. The problem? A single cup of regular chamomile tea just doesn't have enough apigenin to produce these powerful effects. The studies showing real results used concentrated preparations with between 200 and 400 milligrams of chamomile extract. You'd need to drink 6 to 8 cups of traditionally brewed tea to match that. This is where the tablespoon method becomes essential. To make a concentrated chamomile preparation, use about 4 chamomile tea bags or 2 tablespoons of dried chamomile flowers in just half a cup of boiling water. Let this steep covered for at least 15 minutes. Then strain it and let it cool. This concentrated liquid should be dark amber colored with a strong, almost bitter floral taste. That indicates high apigenin content. 1 tablespoon of this concentrate delivers the therapeutic dose research has shown actually works. Another option? Buy liquid chamomile extract from a health food store and take 1 tablespoon diluted in a little warm water. Timing matters a lot because apigenin takes about 45 to 60 minutes to cross the blood-brain barrier and start activating those calming receptors. I found that taking my concentrated chamomile about an hour before I wanted to sleep worked perfectly. I'd feel naturally drowsy right when I wanted to sleep instead of lying awake waiting for effects to kick in. The calming sensation is subtle but unmistakable. Like a gentle wave of relaxation that starts in your chest and gradually spreads outward. However, the next liquid works through a completely different mechanism that addresses one of the most overlooked causes of high cortisol and bad sleep. Number 3. Magnesium water. The third liquid is magnesium water. Understanding why this mineral is so crucial for cortisol regulation will completely change how you think about stress and sleep. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, and one of its most important jobs is regulating the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. That's the system controlling your entire stress response. When you experience stress, your HPA axis triggers cortisol release from your adrenal glands. Magnesium acts like a brake pedal on this system. It helps shut off cortisol release once the stressful situation has passed. Without enough magnesium, your stress response gets stuck in the on position, continuously pumping out cortisol even when there's no actual threat. A study in the journal Nutrients found that magnesium supplementation reduced cortisol levels by nearly 25% in chronically stressed people. Even more impressive, research from the Journal of Research in Medical Sciences showed that magnesium supplementation improved sleep quality, increased sleep time, and reduced how long it took people to fall asleep, all while decreasing early morning awakening. The scary reality? About 90% of Americans are deficient in magnesium. This deficiency has reached epidemic levels because of depleted soils, processed food consumption, and chronic stress, which actually depletes magnesium even more. Your body burns through magnesium rapidly when cortisol is elevated. It creates a vicious cycle where stress causes deficiency, and deficiency makes stress worse. The most effective way to rapidly increase magnesium levels is through a highly absorbable liquid form, not pills or capsules. Magnesium citrate and magnesium glycinate are the two forms with the best absorption and least digestive side effects. You can buy liquid magnesium supplements and take 1 tablespoon in the evening, or make your own magnesium water using magnesium powder mixed into filtered water. The glycinate form is particularly good for sleep because glycine itself is a calming neurotransmitter that makes the relaxation effects even better. I recommend taking your magnesium about 2 hours before bed. This gives time for absorption and lets the minerals start calming your nervous system before you try to sleep. Start with a lower dose and gradually increase to 1 tablespoon. Too much magnesium too quickly can cause loose stools as your body adjusts. Within the first week of consistent magnesium supplementation, I noticed my muscles felt less tense in the evening. My mind was quieter when I laid down, and that frustrating feeling of being tired but unable to relax finally started to fade. The next liquid, however, contains a compound that actually signals your brain to produce sleep hormones on demand. Number 2. Tart cherry juice. Concentrate. The second liquid is tart cherry juice concentrate. This deep red stuff contains something that no other common food provides in such high concentrations. Tart cherries, specifically the Montmorency variety, are one of the only natural food sources of melatonin, the hormone directly responsible for starting and maintaining sleep. A study in the European Journal of Nutrition found that people who drank tart cherry juice had significantly elevated melatonin levels, spent more time asleep, and reported better sleep quality compared to those who drank a placebo beverage. But the melatonin content is only part of what makes tart cherry juice so powerful for cortisol and sleep. These cherries also have high levels of anthocyanins and other polyphenolic compounds that have been shown to reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, both of which can elevate cortisol and mess with sleep. Research in the American Journal of Therapeutics showed that tart cherry juice reduced insomnia severity and decreased the amount of time people spent awake during the night. Another fascinating study found that tart cherry juice consumption was linked with a significant reduction in cortisol levels following intense physical or mental stress. The key to getting maximum benefits is choosing a concentrate rather than a regular juice cocktail. Those are often diluted and loaded with added sugars that can actually disrupt sleep. Pure tart cherry concentrate is thick, deeply colored, and intensely sour. That indicates a high concentration of beneficial compounds. 1 tablespoon of concentrate equals about 100 tart cherries. It provides a therapeutic dose of natural melatonin and inflammation-fighting antioxidants. Mix your tablespoon of concentrate into a small amount of water, or take it straight if you can handle the intense flavor. Timing is crucial because melatonin works best when taken about 1 to 2 hours before your desired sleep time. This lets melatonin levels in your blood peak right when you want to be falling asleep, mimicking the natural rise that should happen as darkness falls. Unlike synthetic melatonin supplements, which often have doses way higher than what your body naturally makes and can leave you feeling groggy the next morning, the melatonin in tart cherry juice is released gradually, and it's accompanied by other compounds that support healthy sleep patterns. I found that tart cherry concentrate produced the most noticeable improvement in my ability to fall asleep quickly. It reduced my sleep onset time from over 30 minutes to under 15 on most nights. The deep, restful quality of sleep also improved, and I woke up feeling genuinely refreshed rather than dragging myself out of bed. But as impressive as tart cherry juice is, it can't compete with the #1 liquid on this list. This one attacks cortisol at its source and has been clinically proven to transform stress response and sleep quality in ways researchers describe as remarkable. Number 1. Ashwagandha root extract. The #1 liquid that completely transformed my sleep and crashed my cortisol levels is ashwagandha root extract. The scientific evidence supporting this ancient Ayurvedic herb is so compelling that it's attracted attention from researchers worldwide. Ashwagandha is classified as an adaptogen, which means it helps your body adapt to stress by adjusting the systems responsible for the stress response, rather than just masking symptoms. A landmark double-blind, placebo-controlled study in the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine found that people who took ashwagandha root extract experienced a 27.9% reduction in serum cortisol levels over 60 days. This isn't a small change. This represents a fundamental shift in how the body processes and responds to stress. The same study showed that ashwagandha supplementation resulted in a 69% reduction in anxiety and insomnia scores. Improvements that participants described as life-changing. Another study in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine showed that ashwagandha significantly improved sleep quality, reduced sleep onset latency, and increased total sleep time in adults with insomnia. The researchers noted that these improvements came with reduced anxiety and better overall mental well-being. What makes ashwagandha particularly fascinating is how it works. The root has compounds called withanolides, which interact with the GABA system in your brain to promote calmness. They modulate the HPA axis to normalize cortisol release. And they support healthy thyroid function, which is often disrupted by chronic stress. Unlike pharmaceutical interventions that force changes in brain chemistry, ashwagandha appears to gently restore balance to systems that have been thrown off by prolonged stress exposure. The liquid form of ashwagandha extract, often sold as a tincture or concentrated liquid, offers faster absorption and more flexible dosing than capsules or powders. Look for products standardized to contain at least 5% withanolides. That ensures you're getting a therapeutic concentration of the active compounds. Take 1 tablespoon of the liquid extract about 1 hour before bed. Either directly or mixed into warm water, warm milk, or combined with the raw honey mentioned earlier for a synergistic calming effect. The taste is earthy and somewhat bitter. Some find it off-putting, but the results are so profound that the taste becomes irrelevant. Many people notice subtle improvements within the first week. But the full cortisol-lowering benefits develop over 4 to 6 weeks of consistent use as your body's stress response gradually recalibrates. During my testing, ashwagandha produced the most dramatic and sustained improvements of any liquid on this list. My resting heart rate decreased. My afternoon energy slumps disappeared, and most importantly, that wired but tired feeling at bedtime completely vanished. I began falling asleep easily, sleeping through the night without waking and waking up feeling genuinely rested for the first time in years. The combination of ashwagandha with the other liquids on this list creates a comprehensive approach to cortisol management that addresses multiple pathways simultaneously, giving your body every possible tool it needs to restore healthy sleep patterns. Your complete sleep toolkit. These 5 liquids represent a complete natural toolkit for anyone struggling with high cortisol and bad sleep. Raw honey stabilizes blood sugar and supports melatonin production. Chamomile extract activates calming receptors in your brain. Magnesium water replenishes the critical mineral your stress response depletes. Tart cherry concentrate provides natural melatonin and inflammation-fighting compounds. And ashwagandha extract addresses cortisol at its source while promoting deep, restorative sleep. You don't need to use all 5 every night. Though some people find that rotating between them or combining 2 or 3 produces the best results. Start with 1. Track how you feel and gradually experiment until you find the combination that works best for your body. The most important thing is consistency. These natural compounds work by supporting your body's innate healing processes rather than forcing artificial changes. Give any liquid at least 2 weeks of nightly use before deciding whether it works for you. And remember that true cortisol balance develops over time as your stress response systems gradually reset and normalize. If this video helped you understand how to naturally lower your cortisol and finally sleep through the night again, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another video that could transform your health. Thanks so much for watching.